Yo, ho, ho. It is me, TJ, the amazing motherfucking atheist. I'm always the amazing atheist. I just gotta fucking get used to the fact that I'm just always amazing and I can't stop being amazing just because I'm doing a personal vlog. I have to be amazing at all fucking times because it's what is expected of me. I don't know why I look like the Unabomber right now, but it's cool. I like it. I dig the look. These are 3D glasses. I just saw The Hobbit for the second time. I saw it at 48 frames per second this time. I thought I was watching it at 48 frames per second the first time I saw it because I'm a retard. I'm sitting there in the fucking thing like, yeah, 48 frames per second looks good, but I was watching it in IMAX, but it was actually not in 48 frames per second. This time I saw it in 48 frames per second, and oh my god, that is weird. I'm like, okay, I mean, look, I know that there's things you could do at 48 frames per second that you can't do at 24 frames per second. I know that it's a lot clearer and all that shit, but it is fucking difficult as a guy who has been watching movies at 24 frames per second for years and years, and I'm a regular theater goer, so every movie I've ever seen up to this point has been 24 frames per second, with excluding a few very low-budget productions. So seeing a high-budget 40... That's my dog whining in the background. My brother's about to take him out. Doesn't matter. Don't pay attention to that. So seeing a high-budget production at 48 frames per second is just fucking weird. It's weird. It's hard to wrap my mind around it. I mean, like, because it looks like everyone's moving, like, really fast at first. When you first start watching the movie, you're like, it feels like something's wrong, because everyone's like, why is everything moving so fucking fast? Okay, and then I'm like, okay, I just gotta fucking adjust to this. I just gotta fucking adjust. Okay? It looks like, focus on the positive. It looks a lot clearer, you know? Everything looks way more crisp. Focus on the crispness, not on the weirdness of the super fluid motions that look too fast. So I worked on that, and it just was not working. Like, it was working, but only to an extent. Because the problem is, I'm supposed to be focusing on the story. I'm supposed to be focusing on the characters. I'm not supposed to be focusing on trying to acclimate my mind to this radical departure in medium. I really think, this is my opinion, I really think that the action sequences of movies should be shot at 48 frames per second and screened at 48 frames per second, but I really feel like the scenes where two characters are just talking to each other, at least for a while, that needs to stay 24 frames per second. You know, I mean, because like, it doesn't feel right to me. I mean, look, if 48 frames per second is going to become a thing, and there's going to be a bunch of movies released at 48 frames per second, then I will see them. And I will give it a chance. I want to give it a chance. I gotta see it. I gotta see it used a few more times before I can come to some kind of definitive judgment. This is just my immediate reaction is that probably the first 2 hours of the movie, it's a 2 hour and 40 minute, maybe not the first 2 hours, but the first like hour and a half of this 2 hour and 40 minute movie, I was not focusing on the story. I was not focusing on the characters. I was not focusing on the special effects or the set designs or anything like that. I was focusing entirely on the frame rate. I'm just like, this is so fucking weird. I can't make myself adjust to this. I just cannot do it. And then, you know, at some point I stopped trying, and that's when it started to happen. You know, when it got, because the action sequences in 48 frames per second look so much better. Because it's more fluid. You know, you just appreciate it. I mean, like the fucking scene in the mines where the dwarves and Gandalf are fucking making their big escape, 10 times better at 48 frames per second. The non-action scenes, just totally distracting. Everyone looks like they're fucking hopped up on caffeine. You know, which I don't like. I didn't like it. But I'm trying to adjust. I'm going to try. I mean, because look, there's been a lot of trends that people were slow to warm to. I mean, when, like, talking pictures used to be this weird thing, and this is this is a pretty new approach to high budget productions, so they probably haven't worked all the kinks out yet. There's probably things they can do to minimize that ultra fast motion effect that it creates. But my immediate reaction is that it's just very distracting. But I mean, I'd like to hear other people's opinions because, you know, like I said, I'm a regular theater goer. Maybe there's people out there who are not, they don't go to the theater as much as me, and they went and saw the 48 frames per second version of The Hobbit. Or maybe there's people, maybe it also suffers because I saw it. It was the second time I'd seen it, so I already knew the story. I already knew every scene that was coming. So I didn't. The story wasn't able to suck me in as much because I was already familiar with it. Maybe if it had been the first time, I'd have been able to get into it a lot quicker, you know, and adjust to the 48 frames per second just because I'm invested in the story more than I am the fucking frame rate. But since I'd already seen the movie, I was way more invested in the fucking frame rate. And, you know, as someone who is a regular, I mean, I consider myself a minor cinephile. I mean, obviously there's people out there that would put me to shame that would fucking say I was a joke as a moviegoer, but, you know, I see a lot more movies than most people. I think about movies a lot more than most people. I place more importance on movies than most people. So I consider myself something of a cinephile. And so I guess I was really there to check out the frame rate. So it's kind of unfair for me to say, like, oh, the story failed to pull me in because I wasn't even there to see the story again. I was there specifically, like, let's see this fucking frame rate shit. Let's see how this is. And, you know, my assessment is a mixed bag, really. Action scenes that are supposed to look, you know, scenes that are supposed to be fast paced, scenes that are supposed to have a lot of fucking, you know, cool like stunts and shit. Way better, just tons better, night and fucking day. I mean, I've never seen an action scene look as good as I saw tonight in the fucking mines where Gandalf and his dwarf buddies are making their big escape. But on the other hand, the normal scenes just look so unbelievably weird and just disquieting and alarmingly odd. I don't know. I mean, I guess I'm going on too long about this. I've been talking for 7 minutes, 40 seconds. I don't know how many people are actually interested in this, but whatever. This is the amazing Unabomber.